Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben
on Spoiled Rotten.
on that shelf.
Boom. Well, we're doing a revisit of Captain Marvel.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yep.
A movie that I feel like I was like, yeah, this is fine, and I still feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't have any shocking new revelation.
It had everything to make a movie, but the heart, I feel.
No, I do believe there was heart. I just don't think that this was a case where the directors were able to actually do what they do best, which is heart.
Yeah.
Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, I do think can do heart. I just think for whatever reason, and maybe it was the excitement of having a female director, they did really seem to lean into what makes these directors who they are. And I feel like we said this the first time we watched it. I think for me, a part that everyone I think probably feels slows the movie down is the part where I'm like actually engaged, which is when Maria Rambeau and Carol Danvers actually reunite, and you can feel based on their performances the history they have. I know that they've been kind of flashing stuff, but just their performances truly bring it to life, I feel like, when they're actually reunited.
Yeah.
That to me, I know you can't make a whole movie out of that, but I feel like there's still room for more of that in this movie.
Right. I do agree, because if there's a case for someone to be said about like, oh, this generic CGI, and I'm like, yeah, this is a good example of that. Like this movie would be, it's almost like the CGI stuff. Yeah, on the CGI side of things, because she's so overpowered, it feels like this is unnecessary. This is, yeah, we get it. She's toying around with everyone. We get that.
Well, she's not, because the through line of this movie is she needs to learn to stop making herself small for the people in her life.
Yes.
Sorry, the Kree specifically. Not it doesn't this yes, when she was human, there was examples of men making her feel small. But it feels like that shouldn't be nothing. That obviously is a very real hurdle to get over, but also it felt like the Kree, whether it be Jude Law's Jan Roger, whatever that's supposed to be that Annette Bening appears as. I know Annette Bening is Marvel, but like Annette Bening is whatever that concept.
The Grand Inquisitor thing, yeah.
Yes, sure, that thing.
Yeah.
They definitely were way more invested in truly minimizing her on every level.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, that part I was just like, I don't know if I said this the first time we watched it, but at least I appreciated that aspect of it more than the Thor thing of like, oh, and then he gets sent to Earth and now we can't watch him, or we can't watch her do the cool things we know she can do. It was like, no, she's gonna keep doing the cool things that she thinks she can do until she finally breaks through and does all the cool things. Further films may not pay off on that, but at least in this movie it did feel like forward projection instead of like, oh, okay, this is the best she can do and now we're gonna have to watch her not be able to do it.
Yeah, I guess the supposed nerfing of this character doesn't really fully feel convincing, because you truly know how powerful she is, so you'd never really I always question, I'm like, how powerful is their brainwashing, really? And then
okay, yeah, I had no question because I don't really know the character, so I wasn't like, oh, she can do whatever. I don't I was like, yeah, okay, that that was a very convenient, not convenient. That was a convincing way of doing it. That
It was
she
very
was just under
convincing.
control.
And I do like the idea of like her being influenced in that way, and just what if we could rewrite the memory? Like that's the most productive idea, knowing that they couldn't exactly get rid of her. Whatever the essence was just caught within her, right? So it's like, well, this ain't so easy. We got to figure this out. And I guess we'll just gaslight her and
Yeah,
just. That's
they kind of just were like, all right, well, we'll just
well, we can't torture her because she's
'Cause
powerful.
I
So we
think
gotta.
that is, if it's not the, I mean, I know this is connected to the Maria stuff, but if it's not
Mhm,
just the relationship of Maria and Carol being explored,
mhm,
then the other thing I find interesting is that it's a movie where we're literally trying to piece together her memories. And
mhm,
I mean, it's not the whole way through, but I find, I think we, again, I'm going to say this a lot. The first time we talked about this, I feel like we talked about like, I really thought it was cool when Talos was like going through her memories, like, no, that can't be
mhm.
right. No, 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 like go back, go back. And visually it was cool, but just that concept of like, you think they're the bad guys at the time. So I was like, wow, this is a really interesting like look at the villains of like humanizing them this way, but then you realize they're not villains. They were just bumbling, like trying to figure this out. But it was still, that was a cool sequence. I thought that was a cool sequence of events, and the mystery of who is Vers or Carol Danvers,
Mhm,
that or Veers, I can't remember how they pronounce it. I think I wanted them to
mhm.
pronounce it Vers, but anyway, like who, the mystery of that was interesting to me, but it didn't feel like the movie like cared about really teasing that out. It was
Yeah,
kind of like, yeah, it's a mystery, but we'll figure it out.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah,
there.
man,
It's
don't worry about it.
it wasn't a big enough revelation to be like, oh, and you were connected to this in this way. It was just like, but you died. That was cool, but you died. We this is great because you're connected with the other scroll and all that kind of stuff, and the Kree, and really figuring out, yeah, you're a freedom fighter. You're doing it.
Yeah, I thought that if they leaned into more of it being about
Hmm.
uncovering the mysteries of her past,
Hmm.
and I'm not saying it's not there. I understand
Hmm.
that that is an element of the movie. It's just I feel like if they leaned into that, giving us more human moments, it would have been more successful for me.
Hmm. I agree. It's in the sense where she was still through the majority of the movie is like being convinced, like, no, this is actually the life that you used to have on Earth, like all that kind of stuff, or at
Well,
least
she didn't even
the
know she was
beginning
from
Earth
Earth.
segment. Yeah, exactly. Like the beginning Earth segment is like, hey, remember, like all this kind of stuff once she figured it out, and how Talos and them unlocked it and helped it figure it out. Um, very very cool sequence, just like, and then we have the '90s setting. Just the
Mhm.
'90s setting itself is in itself a fun revisitation. I
Yeah,
feel like
I, that, I
now it.
mean, that part wasn't really. I don't know if that ever really sold me. Other than it gives us, um, I do like that it gives us younger Nick Fury and
Mhm.
younger Agent
Coulson.
Coulson.
Yeah.
It's Phil Coulson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I do like that conceit, but
Mhm.
other than that, I'm like, I don't care that it's the '90s. Like, other than yeah, the needle drops or whatever. But I was just like, I don't care. Other than it's
Which,
younger.
right, which I don't. To me, the needle drops on home theater, and this might just be a testament to how crappy my theater is. Is just like it's just not as effective as in the movies. In
Mm.
the movies, that really just did give you a bigger sense of, yeah, and at
You
home
did
it's like,
like it.
oh, that's not more
Um,
fun. I
I do
Yeah.
remember you liking it more of that in theaters. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
trying to think. Like, we could probably go through the characters, but I really, this time around I was even more convinced that like I do like this Brie Larson performance. I
Mhm.
actually think she's like, I was like, yeah, I would watch more of her. I would follow her character. I
Mhm.
know in bad faith people have said she's a bad character, but
Mhm.
um ignoring the people that were mad at her saying that, I still feel like she is she was an engaging lead for me.
Mhm. She was definitely engaging. Because for better or worse, she made you feel something, right? The grit on her, she did it very, very well with the cockiness of an
Yeah,
air
like
pilot.
that
I liked it. It's
she knows she's the shit, and I
yeah.
like that. I do like her teamed up with Nick Fury, and like
Mhm.
just the way she's trying to like I don't know why I like it so much, but when he's like, yeah, yeah, you keep asking me questions, how do I know you're not one of these things? And then she does the blast, and he's just like, this means
What's that
what is
supposed
it?
to mean?
But
Like, I
like
don't.
just
Cool. But what's that supposed to mean?
but like her response to that, I was just like, yeah, like she's cool. I like her, and I like her confidence
Mhm.
of getting things done, and um and when she's on the ship with the Skrull initially, and she's trying to break out, and she's having that fight, and the one Skrull yells at her, and she yells back and makes that crazy face. Like I was like, yeah, this who doesn't want to hang out with this woman? She's like, she seems like she's having a good time.
She does seem like she's having a good time. Except, well, I mean, I can tell you who doesn't want to hang out with her, and that's
Right.
rightfully so. The guy on the motorcycle that
Oh, I thought you were gonna talk about the
just
Gemma
catcalled
Chan
her.
character
No, no, no,
when
no,
she
no.
was like,
Well, I
wait,
mean, the Gemma
you knew
Chan
this? Is that
character
why we're not?
also,
Is that why
yeah.
we're not close? She's like, I just
No,
don't like you.
I just don't like you. I just straight up don't like you.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That would have been a good drop too. But the guy on the motorcycle
Yeah.
who straight up is a dick to him, to her, and
Oh,
you
okay.
know,
Yeah. It's like she's not a dick to him. Like, and
no,
also,
no,
I feel
he's
like
a straight up dick to her.
everyone understands what they're riffing on in that, in terms of like
Yes.
the Terminator of it all. So like, I don't.
Hmm.
Again, I'm ignoring the bad faith. Like, oh, why was she so mean, or why was she? I'm like,
Hmm.
I get what people are doing there, and I'm just choosing to ignore it.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, uh she handled that the way she should have, in my opinion.
Yeah. Rightfully so.
Yeah. But you know what? I don't know if I gave Talos or Talos. I can't remember how they pronounce it. As you can see, this isn't a movie that really sticks with me, but
Mhm.
I do like the Ben Mendelsohn performance a lot.
I
And
like
I
it a
feel
lot.
like I don't think I gave it enough credit the first time,
Hmm.
because I think I really harped on Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson, only because I was surprised that again, I feel like Winter Soldier and this are the movies where they let Samuel L. Jackson actually do stuff, or like
Hmm.
be a character.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm always happy to see that. Like he has hopes and dreams. He's got like, he's not just the hard ass. Like, and I'm not talking
Hmm.
about like how he likes the flirkin. I'm talking about like when he's singing the song, like, oh
The
my god,
Marvelettes. Yeah.
yeah, like when he's doing that kind of stuff and just having a good time.
Hmm.
I or when he's like building the thing out, or trying to get the tape so he can get the fingerprint, and he's like, you sat there and watched me play with that tape when you could have just done that. Like, I appreciated how he altered his performance to be this
Hmm.
younger, more optimistic character.
Yeah.
um but yeah, the Ben Mendelsohn, he's just great in this. He's truly a winning ingredient in this movie.
I do like the Ben Mendelsohn character. It makes you actually like, and I get why they casted him in this role because he really gets you to care about his cause and really explains it well, right?
And
She's
you
been fed this
assume he's a bad guy
propaganda.
because he's done bad guy
Yes.
stuff. So you just assume, you're like, yeah, he's a scroll. He's Ben Mendelsohn. He's gonna be a bad guy. And I just feel like it was very effective to me both times. No, I've seen it more than twice, but both times we've covered this, I critically was just like, yeah, like that was an effective change, like
Mhm.
reversal of expectation there.
Yeah, because you do expect him to be the bad guy, given the fact that, like, one of the first scenes you see him in, he's overseeing another Skrull's like dissected body, and he's
Hmm.
so chill about it, right? He's just, and like he legitimately plays the whole like, hey, let's
Yeah.
check out what the their anatomy is like down there, just
Hmm.
to let's just see, and they do, and they have the very similar response, and I'm like, interesting. They played that up pretty interesting. But of course they're talking about like, oh yeah, they can adapt short term memory and all that kind of stuff. So who knows how long he's been that guy for? Who knows?
Yeah,
Who
I
knows
thought
anything in this? Because everyone can be a Skrull.
Yeah, I
No.
mean, I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is probably why this movie isn't like my favorite. Even though I I don't want it to seem like I think this movie is like bad. It's just not for me. Like
Yeah.
in general, it feels kind of flat, but I do think there's solid stuff here, and Ben Mendelsohn is a big part of that because I feel like he elevates each scene with his scene partner. Like even with the like scientist guy when they get found out at Maria's home, and he's just like, "Really, you couldn't figure that?" And the scientist was like, "I don't know, sorry about that." Or like, yeah, just how he's trying to coolly like drink his drink like Samuel Jackson in Pulp Fiction when he
Mhm.
shows up to the house initially, and he's like, "No, I'm not trying to harm you." And they're like, "What's that outside?" He's like, "Okay, well, yeah, fair enough, but still, we aren't trying to hurt you."
So one of the things that's very interesting to me about this movie is like, even because probably your background reminds me of this, is that like the Top Gun aspect of this, where they're even referencing like Goose and all this kind of
Hmm.
stuff in this movie. Really genuinely hated the fact that once um Bree and Monica were reunited, there was just such a quick departure. Like that part did suck to me in the sense where that
Like
part was
Monica or
good. It was
Maria.
interesting. Um, crap. Maria and Monica, I guess. There was quick departure of both. But either way, it was just like, yeah, quick reuniting and then quick departure. That bites. It's but I mean that is her character. It explains her absence a lot from the whole, I guess, Earth
Oh, that she's
aspect of
always
it.
gone. I
Yeah,
mean,
she's always gone. Yeah.
Monica's gone pretty quickly because she stays at home, but Maria's in
Mhm.
it. Like once Maria's in, she's in the movie. Like she goes with them to space. She's
It's
there.
true. That's
I don't
true.
know how quickly she leaves. I think what you're talking about is kind of when I was setting up earlier was that um I don't know if they've said. I feel like they did hint at maybe it was more than just a friendship, but I'm that's not what's important to me. What's important to me is they had a deep connection, and I
Hmm.
would have liked to have seen that. Like they show you like stuff that happened in the past, but I like you would have liked to stick with them in the present and see them
Hmm.
trying to unpack that together. Obviously Maria would feel a way about her friend coming back from the dead in a sense, and
Hmm.
then even there, I feel like I only remember like one line of her being like, "I'm not really who you think I am," and but like that doesn't truly factor into how they operate with each other.
No.
But like that is an interesting point of conflict that, for all intents and purposes, Maria's friend is back, but not really because she doesn't remember any of their stuff, and that
Hmm.
highlighting the strength of their relationship, bringing Carol back and grounding her again on Earth.
Yeah, because doesn't even Monica even say that at one point? It's like you don't know what it's like to have lost a friend and then come back only to not really have that same person back. So like there's familiarity in it, but like only in those glimpses. And I feel like it's weird in the performance, it feels so familiar. But then after the fact, it's like,
That's
oh,
something they
they're calling attention to the fact that it's not supposed to be. And I'm like, wait, I don't there's a conflict within this, and I feel that's a little bit weird. But how early on is that? Because I can't remember
Oh, it's
when.
like when they first show up to the thing, she's like, "Oh, I'm not who you think I am." Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think what works is their performance in that you know that like even with this brainwashing, they are
Mm-hmm.
so destined to connect that that's not really going to sell. It's more, um, and I'm not saying this makes it a better movie, but it would be a more interesting movie to me if they really leaned into that kind of stuff of like this deep connection they have and really teasing it out the way, like in a fun way, they tease out the Nick Fury and Carol stuff, that they kind of balance that out with the deep stuff of Carol and Maria.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like through Nick, she's finding her answers, right? And she goes directly to like they could spend way more time with that, finding out what the answers genuinely were. But I guess they were only really interested in exploring what would move the plot along. Um,
Yeah,
and that part
that's why I said it
sucked a
feels
bit.
like it's on the rails. Like this
Yeah.
movie definitely feel like obviously these directors never came back, and I don't even think it was like a question of whether they would be back for the second one. I feel like it very clearly was like these directors were like, all right, I guess we did our Marvel movie. We're out of here now.
They're like, yeah, didn't enjoy that. That was not the
I
way
mean,
we
yeah,
wanted to do things.
I can't imagine they did, but also I
Yeah.
don't know for a fact. But it's more just like usually with these movies, unless it's a Thor movie before Ragnarok, you're like you have a sense that the director's like, and now like they're working on the second one or whatever,
Right.
and
Right.
it's like that
This is
didn't
like
happen.
no, it's a hired gun in this situation. And yeah.
Yeah, that didn't happen. Like it's not like the directors moved on to something else.
No.
Like it wasn't like they're like, oh yeah, we got them for Captain Marvel. We're thinking of maybe using them for
Or
Secret
like,
Wars or whatever. Like, I mean, I know that hasn't come out yet, but it just doesn't seem like. I definitely said this the first time. This was the right fit of, what they like to do, which is take an indie darling director and have
mhm,
them have a little bit of say in what happens in between the set pieces. And I feel
mhm,
like what they would have done well was the Maria Carol, because obviously you've got Nick and Maria as the two halves of Carol. There's the like caring human being, and then there's like the soldier. Well, I know that's not technically it, but
mhm,
that concept. So you've got Nick helping her with that aspect of it, and Maria helping with. But obviously,
mhm,
they leaned more into the Nick of it,
mhm.
and I get it because that leads to more of the action. So, but it didn't feel like the right match of director and the Marvel machine this time.
Right. Right. And I like machine, the formula, whatever you want to call it, the way you put it, because it's like, let's admit it, like, yeah, there are certain things that are like, there's they're employees at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just basically telling your employee what to do, and that's really, really what you're getting out of this. Is this has to be done? We've already designed the set pieces for you. Here's the costume design. We've done this. Here's, yep, you're good with it. Cool. Let's wrap it up and ship it.
Yeah,
And I'm
that
like, cool. We needed to get from one place to another place.
yeah, it felt like because of the importance of this character, at least leading up to it. Because I like for as long as we've been doing this podcast, I feel like we've been fielding rumors of who was going to play um Captain Marvel. It's not like they were just like,
Mhm,
oh yeah, we're doing Captain Marvel. Here's that was like a big thing. Like
mhm.
every like there's like a run people will be able to see if they look at our older episodes. So like almost every episode, it was a new rumor of who was going to be Captain Marvel.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. That was wild back then.
Yeah, like
And we got this.
yeah, I
And you're
think
like,
that was my thing. Is like it
wait,
was a big deal to them,
they hyped
and
it up so much, and I'm like, way to fumble on that.
it's in
Like,
the same range as Black Panther in terms of introducing a new character, not because Ant-Man was already a
mm,
sequel in that range, right? Like
right.
it's like you're introducing this iconic character for lack of maybe I shouldn't say iconic. It's their female character. Like this is they were like really like hanging their hat on. Look, we're gonna have a female lead. It's not Black Widow, so you got to give us credit. We got more than one.
We got more than one, and it's
um,
Wanda's gonna get bigger,
I
maybe.
mean, Wanda ends up being the best in terms of when she gets her solo. It wasn't a movie, but when she got her solo thing, it was the best. But like, yeah, it just felt like the amount of time people knew that they were working on this. It was maybe I didn't have the words for it now, but it definitely feels now like it's disappointing to make it to have a product that feels more like it was constantly being rewritten and repackaged and stuff like that.
It was, yep, you can see the tape.
Yeah, because as we've talked about many times on this podcast, Black Panther definitely feels like the director got to tell their story.
Yes.
I'm not an idiot. I understand the parts that are meant to like keep
Mhm.
the Marvel story going, but the
That was very much its
what
own
Ryan
story.
Coogler and I think his name is Joe Cole were able
Mhm.
to do with their writing and the story that they did. That clearly wasn't just, hey, Kevin asked you to, do this. Kevin asked you to do that. They got to tell the story they wanted to, and it seems like Captain Marvel should have the same thing.
Mhm. I think where Wakanda obviously, or Black Panther and Wakanda obviously succeed is the fact that there was an entire nation and culture developed for this of celebrating the best of, and this is leaning on something that already was, and whether or not that was the best of associated with this in that setting of 90s post, like I mean
Well, I feel
alt
like this
rock
movie still
feminism kind of stuff.
had that because they were able to.
Mm.
It starts on like the Kree, like you start with the Kree home planet. They go
Yeah,
to a
but we leave
Skrull
that
planet.
so
Like,
fast. We leave that
but what
so
I'm
fast.
all I'm saying is they had the same opportunity of showing you
Mm.
something that's not new to comic book readers, but new to the audience in general. The same way Wakanda would have been new to the audience in general, not
Mm-hmm.
comic book readers. Um, and we've already established they didn't really stick with the things that would have made this feel deeper for us. So like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, obviously they leave that early. I mean, I'm not really that into that portion of the movie. Because for me, it's when you get to Earth, because that's when you actually get a deeper understanding of the scroll. Actually, I
Yeah.
feel like once you hit Earth is when I'm like, okay, the movie's actually humming along. But like they had the scroll basically. That was going to be the first time people actually interacted with the scroll for any meaningful period of time, and
Mm-hmm.
they could have even, yeah. I just feel like it feels like a missed opportunity in terms of the movie as a whole.
Yeah, they're still trying to make us convinced of the hoodwink kind of situation where they're like, "Hey, nope, they're still bad people. Remember that Skrull's bad." And then later on, the hoodwink is no, actually they're good. We got you there.
Right, because her memories,
Yeah,
it takes a while before she actually remembers that it's Jude Law that walked up on her and not a scroll.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Takes her a while,
do
and
we want to
yeah,
talk about Jude Law?
he's. I mean, for a movie that he's in, he's rather insignificant in the whole thing. He's
I
just
would
kind of
agree.
annoying. He's kind of
Yeah.
annoying. He's like, he's got Carl Urban energy within the MCU in this movie. A movie like an actor that should be doing more, but isn't able to out of this role because of the limited confines of what this has to do.
Yeah, it's
It's
certainly not written for him to do much. I don't,
no.
yeah, because it is just a gaslighting thing, but it just,
Mhm.
I don't even know if he had a good time. Another villain that I know people feel is wasted is the Lee Pace villain in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I
Ronan.
feel like, and he's in this movie too, but I feel
Yeah.
like in comparison, like it feels like Lee Pace had a better time. He
Yes.
obviously came back. I mean, obviously, what are you gonna say no to the money? But like, but also like he did
Yeah.
come back, and like Jaimon Hansu, like I know it came out that he gets paid very poorly still, and he's in every
Mm.
franchise, but like he came back, and I liked him in that the setup that they have at the beginning where they're like, well,
Yeah.
you don't find anything funny. He's like, no, I only laugh when things are funny.
Yeah.
Like that stuff, I liked that banter.
That was really,
Um,
really good. And what I don't know where they landed on like how they got there, but I like the part the guy was like, "No, it's funny because you're objectively handsome,"
yeah,
and like stuff like that. I'm like, "Yeah, this is a good scene. This is funny. I get that they're like soldiers about to kill each other, but still chumming it up kind of
yeah, they
deal.
have some levity.
Not
Yeah,
killing each other, but killing other
they're gonna
folks.
be doing some killing.
Yeah,
It is not a
death
fun time
is
for them.
gonna be had. Yeah,
Yeah, I find it very interesting how kind of sleepwalky the performance feels.
yeah. Nothing's really jumping out at you. Nothing catches my attention really
It's not even like I feel like, oh,
that
there's
much
a subtlety to his performance that I haven't caught on to yet. I'm like,
with
no,
Jude
he just
Law.
yeah, like I'm just like, no, I just feel like he was like, all right, I did it, bye. I got the lines. He
Because
said
his
them.
character still lives. You know what the problem? I feel like one of the major problems is because his character has no room to go in terms of powers that he never becomes a real threat, like ever. He's just like,
He's
okay, you
not a
caught up
real
with her.
threat, and you don't know that he's like, I mean, obviously rewatching it, it's very obvious he's trying to keep her down, but
Yes.
he doesn't know that, and she just sees him as a friend. So it's not even like you get to see him play this duplicitous thing. It's just kind of like it's revealed he's bad, and she's like, "Oh, okay, then fuck him." There's no like, and even when they meet up, it's not a meeting between them. It's like the scientist scroll is playing her, so they don't really even have that tension
Right.
where like it's just the actors have it, but it's not the characters. So
Mhm.
Carol and him don't ever have any kind of "you betrayed me" or anything like that. It's kind of just like, "Yeah, no, I already know you're a bad guy. I'm gonna get you." And he's like, "But Carol, you gotta fight me fair." And she's like, "No, I don't." And then
I,
it's
I
done.
I I do like that through line of like, no, I already know you're a dummy in this situation, and I'm just gonna go my own way. I do like that because it's
No,
just
I like
like,
that about her, but I'm saying the movie. I'm giving another example of the movie not
yeah,
like going as deep as it could,
right,
or like playing out any of these human. And when I say human, I know they're aliens. Well, I
right.
know that Jude Law's an alien. What I mean is the type of universal stuff that draws people into these stories.
Because, and here's the unfortunate thing. Here's where I feel like they Disney marveled it up, or whatever you want to call it, is where he would be more effective as an ex-boyfriend, because he's got that ex-boyfriend energy about him through this whole movie. But because he's not an ex-boyfriend, then it's just really like, why are you acting like this? Like, it's, you know what I mean? I
No,
feel
not
like,
really.
oh, I, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like there's this jealousy, and I feel like it's because he knows he's not actually better than her, and he's like trying as hard as he can to like manipulate her and gaslight her and all this kind of stuff, that it's just like, you're supposed to feel like, yeah, you're kind of a insignificant thing that's trying harder to be something that it's not. But he, at the end of the day, I can't tell if it's Jude Law or just like what the character is doing, but it's, to me, not effective. It's just not effective, whatever is being brought to the character. Because I feel like at one point I'm like, what if he was an ex-boyfriend? Would that make me care about this performance a little bit more? And I just don't think it would have.
I guess that's why I didn't really know what you meant because wouldn't
Mhm.
matter what he was given this performance.
No, but
It's
I'm
like
I'm
nothing.
wondering, like, with the earlier thought of like, what if they Disney Marvel like cleaned it up, the idea of like, okay, if he was an abusive ex-boyfriend gaslighting her, because that's basically what he does the entire time, gaslights her, holds her down and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, would they be commenting on that? And she's like, it's a breakup kind of thing, like, I don't need you and whatever. But they don't actually lean into that, which makes me not connect with anything. It's just like, oh, you're just a commander. Cool. That's that
Fair.
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, I
There's
think
no, yeah, like you said, there's no depth to it. It's, if there was something deeper there where it's like, oh, you also did this, you lied to me, you did this, and I'm like, yeah, I would care more about it. But they didn't go there.
I see what you mean in terms of there's no like clear. I won't say there's no stated reason he's doing what he's doing. It's more there's
Mhm.
no clear like reason that he's keeping this up.
Yes.
I don't think them being in a relationship would have mattered because he already has the intimacy of being the person that gave her blood and her powers. He has that
True.
over her, and there's already the intimacy of how she feels about him, like regardless of their relationship status. That
Mm.
she comes to him late at night if she can't sleep. That he has that power over her,
I
regardless
forgot
of
that.
yeah.
Yeah. I forgot that bit of intimacy there,
Yeah,
where
so he
that's
has
a
the
very
intimacy I
regular
think
thing.
you're talking about without it being, and I don't know
Mhm.
that anything in the movie says they weren't ever romantically linked. I don't think it's that part would be important so much as he's
No, but if
playing a
I feel
flat
like, yeah,
character. And
right. But I'm saying if they were romantically linked and the movie made it directly clear that was the case, would it have made me care a little bit more? And I feel like, yeah, probably.
but I think the through line was authority figures that
Hmm.
keep her down. So like your
Yeah.
first authority figure is your parent. Then you watch
Hmm.
her growing up, and then it stops being her dad who's keeping her down. It's
Hmm.
the drill sergeant, and now it's this guy as well. And I think that was more the through line because, as I said, I believe they were looking at Carol as more as having a relationship with Maria, and I know that doesn't matter when she loses her memory, but I think they wanted to keep that part of it clean, and that what they were looking at was the authority figures in her life keeping her down.
So would it have been authority figures, or would it have been the male authority figures specifically, just because of the idea of
Well, she still
verse
sees Annette
or
Bening
yes,
as an authority figure, and that was trying to
yes,
keep her down as well. So that's why I am just saying authority figure.
fair enough. Yeah,
Whatever the
because
establishment is trying to keep her down.
are
That is what
we
they're doing.
are we seeing Annette Bening as actual verse,
No,
like,
but what
or
she
the
sees.
what she sees? Okay, yeah. That aside, that's just like Cree stuff, right? But like Annette Bening herself as an authority figure on Earth
Wasn't trying to keep her down.
wasn't trying to keep her down. It was nurturing and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
for the most part. So I feel like, well, there's definitely a connection there with what they're trying to do with this movie. But it's lifeless. That's the thing. It's just like they're
I
not
would agree
digging
with that
into
part
it.
of it. Yeah.
They're not digging into it, and I'm just like, that's why I feel like if it was Jude Law was an ex-boyfriend, it'd be like, okay, they're speaking that that truth of like, it's that they're really leaning into all that, like everything's trying to hold her down kind of thing, and she's breaking out, and here are the people that support her. I think that would have been way more clear. But the Jude Law character, yeah, it's just forgettable in this movie. Not great.
No, he's not great. That's too bad.
It is
Not
what it is. I mean,
there's not that many characters. I guess there's Coulson. I really did like
yeah.
Coulson in this. It was nice to have him back, and
Yes.
the blind trust he shows Nick Fury
Mm-hmm. I
in the
like,
hallway. I guess it's not the hallway; it's the stairwell. When
yeah.
he's like, "No, they're not down here." I was like, "Good for you, Phil. You're a good person."
I like the thing you said earlier about them being a younger version of themselves, and this younger version of Phil is just more hardcore and like always by the books and all that kind of stuff, and like that's what's interesting. And I like when the only time he actually breaks character is like, hey, I'm kind of still here. Where'd everyone go? Like that kind of like, okay, that's true. And like, but everything else is like very by the books. And I'm like, yeah, that would make sense for your character. Because even when
Well, I
you're
mean, he's by the
yourself,
books
he
until he
wasn't.
finds like his hero, and obviously initially Nick Fury is his hero.
Yes,
And I
at
don't mean
least
that as in the person who saved him. So like, just someone he idolizes is Nick
correct.
Fury, and he would
Like I,
break similar rules for the Avengers and stuff like that. But yeah,
yeah,
I like, yeah, I liked Coulson and Fury in this
yeah,
movie. I think
yeah.
they did a good job and good use of them, and I do like. Maybe people don't like it, but I do like that it was these events that made Nick Fury be like, yeah, like we can't trust that Captain Marvel will ever get here in time. We need
Mm-hmm.
Earthbound heroes, and I like that he got the name from her call sign, like the
Yeah,
Avenger thing. I was like, yeah, good,
I
because
like it.
one one thing I like that sticks through the shows, I believe in the shows and in in Endgame, Infinity War, is that like they have this connection that you can't fuck with. Like I can't remember who, but someone mentions Fury to one of them, and they're like, "Don't use you can't use that name." Like I feel like Carol's like, "You can't say that name." Like
Mm-hmm.
look, Fury's my guy. I'm not gonna listen to you about that. So I do like that. Like they have that connection, and so he's naming his heroes after this amazing experience he had with
Mm-hmm.
the first Avenger he met.
Yeah, I like that too. His inspiration right away, because like what I forgot what his initiative was called, but
Yeah, I feel like it was
like
just like Defense Initiative, something
powerful
like that.
person's initiative. I like his reasoning there with Coulson. He's like, "You think we're gonna find more?" And he was like, "We
Yeah,
found one. We weren't even looking." And I'm
yeah,
like,
great
"That's awesome.
reasoning. Yeah,
That's
great
great." I'm
reasoning.
like, "Yeah, if they're that powerful, they'll make themselves known. You just recruit them at that point. Be
Hmm.
prepared. It's a good idea. I like it a lot."
Yeah, I appreciate. I think it's something that MCU does well, which is like that happened in the '90s. So like there is reason to believe that like they've had similar adventures with Earthbound heroes, and it won't contradict like what happened at the end of Iron Man 1, because like
Mhm.
obviously Nick Fury is way more experienced at that point, way more confident.
Mhm.
So like it's not like he was waiting since the 90s with Carol till that moment to be like, hey,
Mhm.
finally, all right, great, let's do
Yeah.
it. It's like, yeah, he had experience, he had adventures before this, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And
And
because
what?
there's like
Because
there's the
Iron,
time, sorry, continue.
sorry, because Iron Man was like early 2000s, so it
Well,
would have been
2008, yeah.
2008. So it would have been like, let's say that was generously, and we could have gone to like the movie, the posters and all that kind of stuff, and like analyze what year it
Well,
was.
like True Lies was on there, so it's like 95 or something like that.
Okay, so mid to late, like yeah, let's say 95. So that jump would have been like, yeah, 5 years. He would have had a good proposal created from. Yeah, I buy it. Everything about that timeline works out. It's great.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
like that they find pockets of time where like other heroes could have had their time, and there's a reason that you're not seeing them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like we already know about like the other. I can't. Is it Isaiah? Oh man,
Isaiah Bradley.
yeah, I never remember if it's Eli Bradley or Isaiah Bradley, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it's Isaiah Bradley. We
Mm-hmm.
know that he is like he actually was carted off. Like he did his heroics, and then they're like, now you
Yeah,
gotta
they're
go.
they're like, no, we can't have that.
All the Winter
Um,
Soldier stuff is secret, so yeah, they wouldn't make a point of being like, yeah, no, we still got those
mhm.
going on or whatever. Like, so I
Captain
like that
America
they.
would have been known though, and I would have liked if like he actually
But
went
that's
like,
what I'm
well,
saying.
we
Like,
had a Captain America, and especially with because Coulson loves Captain America so much, I would have been like, I would have loved that little like week. Was like, yes, we do, and
but
then
I'm
just
saying
walked.
like that could have been the reason he would be like
True.
even have that initiative, and then
Mhm.
once he meets Carol, he's like, oh, like they're not all frozen. Like we can go get some that are alive right now.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is done well. That's not really anything good specifically about Captain Marvel. Just what I like
Mhm.
about the MCU, that they give themselves the space to have pockets of heroes doing things, and I don't question so much like, well, why isn't this happening? Because it's like, no, most of this is trying to be like secretive and not put it on the radar until you have an Avengers level threat, which is what the 2012 movie was about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like,
Where it's like, well, we can't explain away aliens coming out of the sky
yeah. Plus,
and
they're aliens
bombing.
that shapeshift. So in this
Well,
movie,
the scroll,
anyways. Yeah.
yes, you can, you know why people don't know about them because they can just hide in plain sight. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Whereas the Chitauri can't do that, so it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, yeah, they're superheroes
well, I
because they
mean,
saved us.
yeah, they've adjusted to that real fast because you have to. It's just like, oh yeah, that made worldwide news. That's the thing that we have to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. That sucks.
Yeah.
But they've got Iron Man, so yay for them.
Well, no, not anymore. But yes, by the time
Well,
this,
that's correct.
yeah, no, they
They've
don't.
got 10 Marvel
Yeah,
every now and then.
if her beeper is still intact, yes,
Once a decade.
yes,
We'll see.
she'll show up.
Yeah.
Um, what were the? I don't even remember the post credit scenes.
Post credit scene
Oh, he
was
spits up the Flerken is the last one.
yeah, and then the
Was the
pager
middle
going
one
off was the middle one.
right? It's so weird because in the theaters, I remember thinking, I don't have to pay attention to this. This will just be an end game, and then that is just not an end game, and I really regretted not paying attention to that scene because, like, oh man, it feels like a lot happened in that scene. But I was like, who cares? This will show up again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really I dislike the fact that it didn't because I'm like, well,
I appreciate that they were
sucked.
like, no, like you needed to watch this movie for this bit of information.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of shocked. I was like, nice. They're rewarding us.
Yeah, I was
Cool.
like, okay,
I get it.
like let's. I mean, I'm honest. I still haven't really paid attention to what happens, and I'm just like, yeah, the beeper went off. She's there.
That's
We
it.
got it.
That is literally it. It's
She's
just like, okay,
upset that
cool.
they're like, no, sorry, Nick Fury blipped.
It was like,
and she's like, I get it.
where's
Yeah.
Fury? And that's it. There's There's no flash of light or anything that indicates that she got there. She just magically appears after the
Well, no,
beeper.
she's announced. They're like, "Hey, something's happening outside," and then when they looked back to be like, "What is it related to this?" She was already in.
Okay, I didn't. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Like, because yeah, it was very, very hush hush scene. I think that's the only great thing about that post credit scene is like who was involved, like multiple people involved.
Yes,
Like
I
those are
like.
the cool post credit scenes where it's like at the end of Shang-Chi, it was like, oh, look at how many people are
Mhm.
involved in this post credit scene. This is gonna be cool. Versus like
I
the
100%
small
agree with
one-offs.
you.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, "Oh wow, look at how many they got in one scene." I mean, I'm happy anytime Don Cheadle shows up, but it was just like, wow, like and Black Widow and Captain America
Yeah.
and Hulk, great. Wow, this is going great.
Yeah, yeah. And now it's just like because of like now if we ever get those, it's like, oh, this is the story that they're going with. This is gonna be cool. Like this team up is gonna be fun. Yeah. I like those post credit scenes, the multiple ones. And that's where this movie was really, really hyped up toward the end. But that had nothing to do with the actual movie, and I felt bad.
No, but it is the first thing she filmed as Captain America. I mean, Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That
Slightly awkward that they're already formed. It's like,
I mean,
hey,
everyone agrees to do these things in this order, I guess. But yeah,
yeah,
um, yeah,
acting.
I don't have. Yeah, you gotta
You have to pretend to be
do your
friends.
research and be prepared. Yeah, but I wish I could say that I liked this movie more than when we first uh thing. I don't think I like it less. It's just now I have better ways of explaining what put me off the first
What the
time.
dissatisfaction was. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know what I rated it the first time.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I don't
I
remember
can't
it.
remember most of this movie, which kind of well, actually, that's not true. I do remember quite a bit of it. But it's just there's certain parts where I'm like, this is a lot less important than I thought it was. And I'm like,
It
okay,
is important because it's what spurs Nick Fury to do his thing, but it's they still haven't really. I'm looking forward to the Marvels because it feels like this is them being like, all right, she's gonna have to
I
be
agree.
integrated into this
Mm-hmm.
properly now. Whereas this Captain Marvel is like, well, this happened in the '90s.
Yeah.
Not gonna have any effect on anything else until Endgame. And I'm not saying I don't like her in Endgame. I like Brie Larson playing this character, so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, great. She gets a big cheer moment at the end when she takes out Thanos' ships and stuff. But
Yep.
like, I like the idea that they're like, no, she's gonna have to like work with people. It's not other powered people and see her
Mm-hmm.
in a team element. I do feel bad that obviously this is them less confident that Brie Larson is enough. But like, if
Well,
it means we're getting Monica Rambeau and Ms. Marvel, then I'm sorry, but I'm with that. I like
mm-hmm.
both of those characters.
Yeah, yeah, and based off the rumors of like uh Ms. Marvel steals a show in this, it's just like
I
I
could see
really
that makes
hope
sense.
that it doesn't speak to the amount of screen time as well, because if they have to sideline her again in another movie, I'm like, yikes, they don't have a lot of confidence in her for this.
Well, I just think it's a hard character to write in this fashion where
I
like
agree.
in a comic book it's like fine, I guess. I don't know, I haven't read any Captain Marvel runs, but like I've seen her be the lead and stuff like Civil War 2 and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And I've seen her be part of a team, but obviously that's different because it's the comics and you can have way more scale. So there's way more bodies for her to beat
Mhm.
up and stuff. You can't do that as much in the movies, but it that's why I'm, even though it seems like I'm like they don't know how to use her, I'm like I feel like hopefully this third time we're gonna see her. I mean, she's in Shang-Chi, but this third like movie we're gonna see her in where she's not just a post-credit scene. Um Feels like they might have an idea of how to work with her.
Maybe.
So hopefully that works out.
Hmm. I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I do have a small feeling like they're going to, how do I say this? Depower her and then sideline her a little bit or have her captured or something in this because
Well,
she's
every time she
so
uses her powers,
overpowered.
she has to switch places with one of them. So like that is built into the story, because that's how that happened at the end of Ms. Marvel.
Is that how they're going to do it from? Really?
Yeah,
I wonder how they're
when
Okay,
they
that's
use
cool.
their powers, they switch places.
That's gonna be kind of funny.
Um,
You can't
but
just
I
triple
don't
tap
mean
to get
I
back to
don't
where you were and just hold the button.
I
I'm
I
joking.
mean it's interesting. I mean, I
Yeah.
hope it doesn't preclude them from being able to spend a lot of time on screen together.
Mhm.
But also I haven't seen the movie yet. Maybe the movie's great, and because I do like the director Nia DaCosta, I'm hoping they've learned their lesson, and they're going to let this director do what she does well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It
Yeah.
keeps getting pushed back, but I still feel like hopefully that means that it's getting the care it needs instead of just being rushed out.
Yeah. I mean, how much more did it get pushed back?
Well, it was supposed to be out last year, and then it got
Well, I
pushed
mean, pandemic stuff aside, like still last
last
year
year.
or
No, sorry. Yeah, it's supposed to be last year. That's not. I mean, we're in a pandemic, and I get that people like to
well,
forget that. But what I mean is
yes.
that wasn't during lockdown or anything like that. That
Hmm.
was everything was open.
Gotcha.
2022 people were just going to the movies. They
So it's
just pushed
been
it back.
delayed more than a
Eh,
full year at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
Interesting.
supposed to be in 2021. Then it got pushed to 2022.
Oh, okay.
Then it it was. I don't know if it was supposed to be early, because I think it switched places with Ant-Man. So I do think it was supposed to be February. Then
Mm,
it moved to July, and now it's in
cool.
November.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Let's hope that works out for them.
Yeah. Or just I hope it works out for me in terms of getting a good movie. I don't really care money wise how it works out for them.
I mean, I was specifically talking to the good movie part of it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if they make as much money or how Ant-Man 3 does or whatever. I'm just like, okay, whatever, but just still make good content.
Yeah. I'm
That's what I want.
hoping I'm
I want to
hoping that
enjoy
it
it.
just means we get a better product at the end of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't have much else to say about this movie.
No, I think we've said the majority of, the last thing I could say is I appreciate that the kid that they casted that for Monica Rambeau looks like the actual actress Monica Rambeau when she's like with sword and all that kind of stuff in WandaVision. I'm like, that was good. I was thinking about that. I'm like, this is good
Yeah,
casting.
it's close enough. I would agree.
Yeah, I could see how that would be a thing. And they even did the hair the same way. So I'm like,
Mhm.
cool. They tried to sell it in case we wouldn't remember.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and rate this, I guess.
Yeah.
I will give it a 7 again. I think that I like a bunch of stuff, but I don't really think that it blends into like exceeding expectation level.
Mm, mm, 6.
Got it.
I'm going with a 6. Confident with that.
Good stuff. 7 from me, 6 from you. That's great. Well, thank you very much for listening, everybody. We are part of the That Shelf Podcast Network. We have other great shows on that network, like Bad Gay Movies, Black Hole Films, Contra Zoom Pod. So please, we've got what is it? Springfield Googleplex is a Simpsons podcast just joined. So
Nice.
I'm sure they would have liked it if I got their name right, but I'm sorry about that. I'll have it right next time. But yeah, there's new shows, so please head on over and find those shows, our show, more shows. You'll even find the right name for the show that I tried just butchered, unfortunately. And
We're sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry. And yeah, if you want to hear older episodes of our podcast, go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten. Our email is spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. Our Twitter and Instagram is at TDF Spoiled. We're on all the podcast platforms, so please go rate, review, subscribe, follow, share with your friends. Really talk us up. If you want to give positive reviews, that is excellent, and there is no other option, so just do that.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more stuff. So please have a great week. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.